Hello and welcome on in to Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. It's the number one tennis betting podcast and YouTube channel brought to you in association with Bet Rivers, your hometown sportsbook. I am Nigel Seeley, and as you can see, I'm in a different location today. I'm over in Montpellier for the 250 event. Before I introduce you to Sean Calvert, please make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Betting Weekly Studios, ring that bell, and make sure you get alerted to all the fabulous content that myself and all the handicappers bring you here on the best betting YouTube channel show you'll find on the internet. Sean, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How's it going over there in Montpellier?
Do you know what? I'm quite impressed actually. It was a £29.99 flight.
You cannot beat that.
Just over an hour. Took over an hour. And this is the bet you'll like the best. From the minute we touched down to the airport on the runway, and they opened the exit gate, from that moment in time to in the cab, through passport control, and on the road to the Airbnb. How much do you reckon?
So it's a tiny little airport. Is it a tiny little airport like Southend?
Tiny little airport.
Yeah.
Yep. 8 minutes.
You didn't even give me a chance to guess. I was just weighing it up.
Sorry.
You know, the probabilities of how long it would take and all that.
I was so impressed. I got excited. It got a bit
the
too
tennis
excited
is near the airport, isn't it? I think the tennis venue.
Well, it's a 20-minute walk. The only thing I was striped up on the taxi, I must admit. 37 euros he charged me for the taxi. The taxi was 37 euros, which was more than the flight from London, and we only went 5 minutes down the road.
Did you? I mean,
which
the flight
was a bit of a stripe.
£30, but did you have to add on seat selection and baggage and all that stuff?
No, I just it was on my own. Just went where I want. Didn't bring any bag. Tiny little bag, in and out, straight away, no problem. £29.99.
You cannot beat that. That's airfare at its best.
Bumped into Neil Channing. He's out here for the tennis tomorrow, and we sat and had lunch in the sunshine.
How very pleasant.
Very nice. Very nice indeed. Very different trip so far from the trips to Portugal and various different ones I've been on with Simon Holden, I must admit.
I can imagine a trip with Simon Holden is very different to what you're experiencing there, yeah. Very,
very, very different. Anyway, it's a bit of a mixed up day on the scheduling. We've been waiting all day for some odds to come up. We always do these podcasts. We do 3 a week. We'll do one on the Sunday, one on the Tuesday, and one on the Wednesday. And we're waiting for some odds to come out, some matches to come out. It's a busy night in Champions League football, so we've got to get these done a certain amount of time. But we're really struggling with some odds now from Bet Rivers or with anybody. The scheduling's been terrible.
Yeah, it's difficult. I can see why they do it. You know, they put the matches on later at night in these French tournaments. Marseille's the same. You know, they want most people obviously available to come, which generally is after work, so they put the matches on late at night. There's at least 2.5 matches still to go on centre court in Montpellier today, and it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, 4 o'clock here. It's 5 o'clock where you are, isn't it? More or less?
Yep.
Yeah, so they've got another 2.5 matches still to play tonight. And because of the way the scheduling's worked out, we haven't got any real matches that are actually set yet. The only one that's been set properly is Griekspoor against Gasquet. Another one's just kind of finished being priced up now, Basilashvili against Rinderknech. We just had a retirement about half an hour ago. Quentin Alice retired.
Another one?
Yeah, he retired injured early in the second set against Jesper de Jong. So Jesper de Jong is through to face Cobolli, but we won't have odds for that for several hours. So it's the matches have got to finish. Then they've got to obviously be set, and then they've got to be priced up, which is anything. You know, it's not instant. It takes a few hours for that to come through. So, yeah, even if we waited until sort of 10, 11 o'clock tonight, we still wouldn't have many more matches than what we've got at the minute, with odds, that is.
Another 2 players pulled out of a tournament here. The only tournament a week. You know, we talked about the retirements in the Australian.
Yeah.
That was a bit dodgy, 5-0 and retires.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything about that, really. I mean, there was a drift, wasn't there, just before the off? Quite a big drift on Kukushkin. I mean, you know, we don't know if these players are injured or not. You can maybe take a guess at it from the way the prices go, but generally speaking, the price shifts are after we've recorded the show, aren't they? So it's impossible for us to know what's going on there. But Kukushkin retired 5-0. Yeah, a little bit suspicious, you might say, and. Quentin Alice, I just saw him walking off at the end against Jesper de Jong. So I'm not entirely sure what happened to him, but he looked maybe a pulled muscle or something. I don't know what happened to him, but he was certainly retired off through the second set there.
Yeah, so retirement's coming thick and fast in this tournament again. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But we do know odds on one match, as Sean touched on. It's a decent match, a good match tomorrow. It's a Tallon Griekspoor up against Richard Gasquet, the farewell tour for the Frenchman. He's going to have a huge support here in Montpellier. He's not based. He's not far from. He's from hometown.
He's from Béziers, yeah, not far at all.
So, and he got us the money in round one with his win over Mannarino. Big underdog though tomorrow against Griekspoor. A bit of a test. Griekspoor come through in an all Dutch affair against Botic van der Sandschip. Griekspoor is minus 295 with Bet Rivers on the money line. Richard Gasquet is plus 230. The spread here is 3.5, and the total here is 22.5. Surprisingly, actually, I thought they may have played before, but they've never met before. Probably Griekspoor's coming through a little bit towards the end of Richard Gasquet's career. But Gasquet played well against Mannarino. The home support behind him. I think he might keep this quite competitive. Before we go on to your breakdown of it and the stats, we had a discussion yesterday about how quick or how slow this court is. I don't know if you've got any more data that you can share with us about the court speed and whether, because I watched it again last night. I watched it, and I think it might be a little bit quicker than recent years.
I'm not convinced it's quick. I mean, it might be quicker than it was last year, but it was really slow last year. It doesn't look quick to me. It looks, as I say, at best medium. It might be slightly faster than the last year's edition, but I think that's as far as I go. I haven't got any more data yet through on in terms of service points won and holds of serve. That hasn't come through yet. But my personal opinion is it's a medium paced at best indoor hard court. So yeah, I can't say anything else on it at the minute because I haven't got any more data.
So Gasquet. Is the farewell tour going to continue here in Montpellier, or is he going to go on to the next week and take it to somewhere else? It'd be lovely to see him through. Going to be a packed house tomorrow. The only day that you can't get the €8 tickets is when I want to go. €60 tomorrow, €60 tomorrow for our tickets instead of €8 today. Sold out. That's my luck,
You're not paying the 60. Is that what you're saying?
I've paid the 60.
Oh, I've paid the 60. Okay.
I've paid 60. It's the only day that you can't get €8 today, €8 yesterday. Today I'm going €62 each.
Well, €8 is pretty good today because you got Rublev playing, you got Felix playing, you got obviously Bublik playing. That's not bad for €8. That's why I thought they'd put those matches on Thursday. Normally these 250s, they tend to put the number 1, 2 seeds on a Thursday when the ticket prices have gone up. I was very surprised to see Felix and Rublev and Bublik all playing today on the Wednesday when it's €8. There's something wrong there, isn't there? Are they missing a trick here with the pricing or something? Am I missing something?
I don't know.
That doesn't seem quite right to me.
It's Champions League tonight, I suppose, and I'd like to have gone today, but for the €8 and got the games, but unfortunately I can't. I've got work commitments. But I think you could get €8 tickets tomorrow, but the tournament's sold out. I mean, you could have got them, but it was the only
today.
Day.
If you're,
you could have gone €8.
I mean, from the tournament's point of view, surely they shouldn't have priced at €8 today, given the players that they've got playing. That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, we could debate that for a while. It's hard to tell.
It's still empty.
It's hard to tell because I haven't obviously got the volume down low because I'm doing this, and you can only really see the first, what they call the loge boxes at the front. You can't really see it unless you sit here and watch it for a long time. You can't really see the upper levels. And they have it in darkness as well, so it gives the impression there's more people there than there actually. Well, it's on now. It's not bad actually. There's quite a few people there today by the look of it. That's because it's €8. You see, going back to that again. They're all in there. The cheapskates. They're getting in before it goes up to 60. Anyway, Griekspoor against Gasquet. I mean, Griekspoor. There's a chance here for Gasquet. I think. I certainly wouldn't be backing Tallon Griekspoor minus 295. He's not playing his best tennis at the moment. Griekspoor after injury problems that he had at the end of last season, the start of this season. And I know you watched the match yesterday, Van der Zandschulp against Griekspoor. I was watching it while I was doing the show yesterday, and he really did make a mess of it, didn't he, Van der Zandschulp? A couple of double faults, I think, didn't he, to make to not take the first set to a tiebreak. He ended up handing that first set on a plate to Griekspoor. He hit 10 double faults, Van der Zandschulp, yesterday in 2 sets, and he was dreadful on the big points, allowing Griekspoor to get over the line, as I've said, in the first set. He's going to need a lot better, I think, to beat a fired-up Gasquet. This is Gasquet's last stand in Montpellier. It's his home tournament. As I said, won the title 3 times, 6 finals. And he was great, wasn't he, against Mannarino? That was excellent value that we got there in him, plus money, plus 125, plus 130, something like that.
Plus 120.
On Gasquet. to beat what's left of Adrian Manarino, which on current evidence isn't that much. 92% of first serve points won. Gasquet didn't face a break point, and he, perhaps importantly, he was only on court for just over an hour and 15 minutes. So even, that's not a long shift, even at the age of 38, is it? I played paddle for a lot longer than that today, and I'm a couple of years older than Gasquet. He has shown, Gasquet, that he can, when he's fit, when he's healthy, when he's got the energy, when the desire's there, all of those things should be present this week, I feel. He can still trouble top 50 players. He's shown that even in the last 18 months, even the last 3 or 4 months, when he should have beaten Alex Mickelson in Metz, ended up losing it in a final set tiebreak. Also lost in a final set tiebreak to Tommy Paul, Seb Korda. He took a set off Yannick Sinner, and he beat Tsitsipas, all within the last 18 months. So when he has the energy, when he has the motivation, he's still a very tricky opponent for a lot of players. And Griekspoor doesn't do well enough on return of serve on indoor hard. I've said this before about Griekspoor, but I'll go through it again. He's only won 32% of return points on indoor hard last 12 months at main level. It's not good enough. He's breaking serve only 13% of the time. But on the other side of the coin, he's holding serve 89% of the time. So he plays a lot of tiebreaks. I think you probably can tell what's coming here. 13 of his last 23 main level matches on indoor hard have gone over 10.5 games in set one. That's 57% of them over quite a long period of time. And that would equate to odds of 1.75 or minus 133 if you're saying 57% probability. So we're getting, I think it's plus 190. Let me just check that. I think we're getting plus 190 with Bet Rivers for over 10.5 games in set one. I'll just double check that. It's actually 3, so it's plus 200, plus $2 for over 10.5 in set one. I'm going to do 2 little bets in this. I normally do flat stakes 1 point wins, but I'll do 2 smaller bets, half point each in this, because I'm kind of torn between the two, and I think they're both good value. So over 10.5 in set one is one small wager, and the other one, Gasquet to win set one. I mean, he's got to win this opening set, really, hasn't he, against a much younger man in Tallon, Griekspoor. And he's fired up to do it. This is his, as I say, it's his last stand in Montpellier. That's I think it's around about plus 190. Again, I'll just double check. We're doing this on the hoof a bit today, aren't we, with the way that the prices are coming through. Let me have a look at set one winner. If I can find that. 2.7. So yeah, plus 170 actually. Gasquet to win set one. So 2 small bets, halve your stake, set one over 10.5, and Gasquet to win the opening set.
29 different markets available on this match with Bet Rivers. All the other quarterfinals will have 27 markets on, or 28 different markets on as well tomorrow. Second round matches when we get there throughout the day. So head across to the Bet Rivers website. Make sure you download the app. And if you do have a wager on either one of these tennis matches tomorrow, you'll be able to bet live and watch live on Bet Rivers. You'll be able to watch this match or any match of your choosing from the comfort of your own home, on your laptop, your mobile device, or your home computer. Just look at, I watched Griekspoor yesterday, Sean. I didn't think he played very well. First set, he took an early break up against Van der Sandschulp. And Van der Sandschulp wasn't playing at all well, should have forced it. He didn't look good at all, Griekspoor, to me. But if you look at his record this year, he's lost against the big boys. His last 4 losses have been Hurkacz, Sinner, Alcaraz and Zverev. I mean, that's not a bad little roll of honour for people to lose to. So.
It's true, but
it'll be packed tomorrow.
He's not been fit. That's been his problem this season. I think that was only his second. That Van der Zandschulp match, I think that was only his second match of the season. First one, he was brushed aside by Hurkacz, and Hurkacz has not been playing well at all. So yeah, for me, this is not by any means 100% Griekspoor. And the other thing you've got to bear in mind, of course, that I didn't mention there, is that it's Griekspoor's home tournament next week. So you would think, the motivation, as far as Gasquet is concerned, would be some way higher than Griekspoor's, who's been injured, as I say, just coming back to fitness, and he will have more than one eye on Rotterdam. He always goes well. He always performs his best in Rotterdam. So I certainly wouldn't be betting Griekspoor anything like minus 295 here. If Gasquet plays his game, plays like he did against an admittedly poor Manarino, and the crowd get into it. I think this could be an interesting match.
Plus 230 for Gasquet on the money line. I'll be having a little bit of money, pizza money on that as well. If we're going to go for the overs and set one and Gasquet to win the set one as well, I'm going to have to bet him to win the match as well at plus 230. And you've got to remember as well, Sean, there's going to be two gamblers from the UK in the front row who will be cheering on Richard Gasquet. And in years to come, Tallon Griekspoor will be asked the question, what was the most hostile crowd you've ever played against?
What, you and Neil Channing?
Yeah, me and Neil Channing. They're going to turn around and say the two English guys in the second round of Montpellier against Richard Gasquet. Forget Davis Cup, forget US Open and the night match on Arthur Ashe.
I'm intrigued as to what you and Neil have got cooked up between you. Then, if you think it's going to be that hostile, what you just a bit of?
We're going to be cheering. We're going to be cheering. I've always said that I've always convinced that in the 250 event, if you shout loud enough, you can have a big influence on the result. And tomorrow, there is no doubt about it, Richard Gasquet will be getting not only support from the local French crowd, he'll be getting the support from the English contingent in the arena tomorrow as well. So,
where are you sat, by the way? Interest? Do you know or not really?
I've got no idea. In the posh seats, I know that. I'll have to. I don't even.
Could be close enough to make a difference.
You'll hear us. We'll be cheering him on. So Richard Gasquet to win set number one. Richard Gasquet and get Tallon Griekspoor over 10.5 games at a very nice looking 2-1. And a little bit of pizza money for me on Richard Gasquet at plus 230 to win the match. Tallon Griekspoor, as you say, Sean, great point there that he's playing his home tournament next week. He doesn't want to be coming there with any kind of problems. And Richard Gasquet's got everything to prove here and his farewell tour in a tournament that he loves. Won it 3 times before. So we're all on the Gasquet Express. Hope we don't blow a Gasquet. Nikoloz Basilashvili against Rinderknech is the match that we're waiting on the prices are. Obviously, Basilashvili's come through today.
Some idea now. I mean, I've got about 1.62-ish Rinderknech, 2.25 Basilashvili. It's going to be roughly around that sort of mark, I think.
When we wait for the Bet Rivers to go up with the lines, what's your first reaction? My first reaction on that is that Basilashvili looks a big price. I think he's 5-1 this year. Rinderknech has been in awful form. I know he did beat Mayotte last night, but he was pretty lucky. I was about to say, he was pretty lucky. He hadn't won 6 matches or 5 matches on the spin coming into it. Basilashvili, 2 wins in qualification. A win today against Cushion. We mentioned Basilashvili, how good he is on his day yesterday. They've met 3 times before. 2 wins to 1 to Basilashvili. Doha, 6-4, 6-2 in 2022. Rinderknech won the last match in France in Metz. It was a real close tiebreak in the first set. Could have gone either way. It went the way of the Frenchman and he won. But I think this is a bit closer than those, I suggest.
Yes, I think it is. Definitely. I like you, I wasn't impressed at all with Artur Rinderknech against Mayo last night. Mayo should have won it, really. But as he tends to be, he's a little bit flaky, is Mayo, and he was pretty poor on the big points. He only took 2 out of 16 breakpoint chances. Rinderknech took 2 of his 3. So that match was all about the lack of composure, if you like, from Mayo on 14 of his 16 break opportunities. And Rinderknech was very good. Obviously, 2 out of the 3 break chances that he should have won it in straight sets. Really, Mayo should have won the first set. Ended up losing it in a tie break. Did win the second set, and then he collapsed a bit in the third set. So it wasn't great. I think Rinderknech would prefer conditions to be quicker. I'm not convinced this is quick enough for him, really. Basilashvili is a guy that is very, very effective on clay as well. In fact, I'd suggest that the slower it is, probably the better for Basilashvili. He doesn't need it to be quick with the power that he's got. He had his usual ups and downs today against what was a physically hampered Kukushkin. Ended up winning it. Obviously, Kukushkin wasn't really able to do much in that third set. But this is just a great matchup for Basilashvili. It's certainly been so in the past. As you said, he beat Rinderknech easily en route to that 500-1 success in Doha in 2022 in the semi-finals. Beat him convincingly there. And, at his best, he's a better player than Rinderknech. I don't think too many people would argue with that. Importantly, Rinderknech knows it as well. After he beat what was slumping Basilashvili in that Mets match, which I think was 2022. He said, and I quote, "I think Nikoloz likes my game a lot. He always plays big against me. I almost found it unplayable the first 2 times. I know that at the moment he's not in great shape, and yet he still played a very good game. I managed to win this time, and it feels good because he's a bit of a pet peeve of mine, and I really wanted to beat him." I think that's the first time I've ever seen a tennis player use the phrase pet peeve. But there you go.
Anyone use that phrase? I've never heard it before in my life.
My neighbour used it the other day as well, actually.
Really?
Yeah, we were talking about parking, and he started going on about his pet peeve is this. It's a phrase.
Never heard it before.
No?
You don't get that in South London, phrases like that where I come from.
Well, you get it here in Essex and wherever.
They've got very much worse language than that.
I'm not sure if this is a literal translation, in which case Google's kind of, come up with its own ideas. I think he's from the Saint-Tropez area, Rinderknech.
There you go. That's why you don't get it in South London. That's why it comes from Saint-Tropez.
I think he's from round about that sort of area, if I remember rightly. Anyway, that's what he said. And to sort of paraphrase that, he's basically saying that I find it incredibly difficult to play against Basilashvili, and I was desperate to beat him. But you got to take that in context. That was in 2022, that match. As you said, it was 13-11, the first set tiebreak. And Basilashvili had lost his previous 6 completed matches before facing Rinderknech in that Mets match. It was a second round match, but Basilashvili only won his first round match because I think it was Zizou Bergs that retired a set and a break up against Basilashvili. So he would have lost that match had it have been had Bergs not retired. So he was on a really terrible run, Basilashvili, at that moment. But even so, even at the lowest of Basilashvili's form, it was still on a knife edge, that match. I've looked at the stats of that. Rinderknech was a minus 278 favourite that day, 1.36 in decimal. And as I said, he nicked that tiebreak, and it was 100 versus 100 in service points won and return points won total. So he nicked it when Basilashvili was at his sort of lowest point. And if you take the head-to-head over the course of the 3 matches that they've played, the service points won and return points won totals are very overwhelming in favour of Basilashvili, 110-90 in terms of those totals. And I'll just break them down a bit more. Return points won, Basilashvili 41% compared to Rinderknech's 31%. Second serve points, Basilashvili 58% compared to 47% for Rinderknech. Basilashvili's held serve 90% of the time against the Frenchman, who, he's a big serving guy, and he's only held serve 73% of the time against Basilashvili. You could certainly say that, yes, obviously when they played in Doha, that was peak Basilashvili. He also beat him on grass. And Basilashvili's not much of a grass man, that's for sure. And he beat Rinderknech in Halle on the grass. The question for bettors really here is this current version of Basilashvili close enough to his best form to get the win? It's a good matchup. He should be starting to feel confident. As I said the other day, he was going on about how he lacks confidence. Maybe these few wins here and the good start that he's had to 2025 has increased that confidence. So I don't think there's much going for Rinderknech at minus money favourite here, 1.62. I definitely would not be backing Rinderknech in this matchup, in these conditions, which I think are on the slower side of sort of medium against Basilashvili, who's shown that this matchup is extremely favourable one for him. So it would have to be Basilashvili for me on the money line.
Yeah, lots to like about Basilashvili. Head to the BetRivers website. The odds will be up probably by the time this podcast drops, but it's a moment of filming. We haven't got it yet, but we do expect them to be around about plus 120, plus 125, that kind of margin region. Another match where we do not have any odds at this moment in time, but we've got a rough idea where they're going to be. It's Flavio Cobolli up against Jesper de Jong. We always spoke about Jesper de Jong coming through against Quinton Halles, with the Frenchman having to retire. I reckon we're going to get about minus $2 on Cobolli here, probably about plus 150 on de Jong. Cobolli in awful form, hasn't won in his last 3 matches. He got beat. He hasn't won. Yeah, he got beat. Makak beat him. Nardi beat him in the first round of Auckland, and Echeverry beat him in the first round of the Australian Open. And de Jong obviously come through here on the back, but it was a default really against Halles' retirement. And prior to this, he lost his last 4 matches. So neither of these I'll trust with your money or anyone's money, Sean.
Yeah, I haven't really had more than about 30 seconds to look at this.
Yeah. One all the head-to-head as well. Both on clay.
Yeah, I'm just looking at
2021 and 2023, both on gloss. There's not really much to go on it, really.
Yeah, I mean, from Jesper de Jong's point of view, he won the last match that these two contested, as you say, on the clay of Rome at challenger level, just shy of a couple of years ago. So he'll fancy this. I didn't really catch much of his match against Alice. I think I suggested over 22.5 in that, didn't I? The first set was a tie break, and then it ended up being void. So that would have been a void there if you'd betted that. But there's no statistics really for Jesper de Jong. He's only played 4 matches on indoor hard at main level. This was his 4th. It's the only win, and it was a little bit of a sketchy one by way of retirement from Quentin Halys. The other thing that makes this tricky is the fact that Cobolli hasn't really been fit for some time. He played a ton of tennis towards the sort of middle and end of last year. I'm just going back over his results now because they were very good. He was only losing to the best. Medvedev, Djokovic, de Minaur were his last 3 losses of last season. But he had a problem. I think he pulled out of Paris or retired from Paris, didn't he, with an injury. I'm just trying to look at his results now. He certainly had a problem. I think it was arm or elbow or something like that towards the end of last season. Came back this season. Again, I think I backed him in Auckland, actually. In fact, he was one of the ones that we've had as a sort of a withdrawal or retirement because he retired in the first match against Luca Nardi, didn't he? So I think he's got ongoing injury problems. If he was fit, you would expect Cobolli to beat Jesper de Jong on a sort of medium-ish paced indoor hard court, but I'm not totally convinced that Cobolli is fit, and de Jong is, as I say, he's not generally an indoor hard man. He plays most of his matches on clay, so without the lines, it's very hard to kind of make a sort of judgment on it, but I would expect Cobolli to win. I wouldn't bet him at minus, what do you think he's going to be, 1.4, something like that?
Well, no, the odds have just come out. Cobolli is minus 188. Jesper de Jong is plus 150, so a heavy favourite for the Italian.
What's 1 point? What's that minus? What's that?
That's 157.
Okay, so slightly bigger than I thought. Yeah, that's bigger than I would have thought, which suggests to me that maybe Cobolli still isn't 100% fit. I think it would be a very difficult match to bet on. Even if I had a full array of odds, and even if I'd studied it for longer than a few minutes. But I don't. I think if you want to back de Jong, then it's potentially because Cobolli isn't fully fit. It might be the case that his luck's in this week. He's had 1 retirement already. He might get another maybe, or maybe just a below par Cobolli. I don't think it's one that I could bet on, even if I had the full odds in front of me.
No. The full odds will be available on the Bet Rivers website throughout the process of the day. 6:30 a.m. Eastern time is the time that these matches start. So you will get the full odds. And then we've got a couple of official plays, a couple of half-unit plays on that big match today, Griekspoor against Gasquet. Saying something that's the big match today, Griekspoor against Gasquet. We're going to go over 10.5. Exactly. Over 10.5 set number 1. And we're going to go for the Frenchman Gasquet to win the opening set. If you want to follow my day cheering on the Frenchman in Montpellier tomorrow, make sure you subscribe or follow us on our socials at becausewewin on Instagram and Twitter. The content will be exclusive on the Instagram account. If I hear anything on the injuries or any news, that will be posted on that Instagram account as well. Keep subscribing to this channel, Betting Weekly Studios. Thank you very much for everyone who keeps subscribing. Keep commenting on as well. Unfortunately, we couldn't really go through a big card today because the odds and the time has beaten us. But we do have that one match with a couple of nice little plays for you to get of some interest. And the content's coming fast throughout the week. The Premier League is back on Thursday. Betting Weekly Premier League, Betting Weekly Extra Time as well. And next week, myself and Sean will be back on Sunday to preview that tournament in Rotterdam. And I'll be heading to Rotterdam this time next week as well. I'm sure I'll be singing The Beautiful South along the way. If you're an American, don't know that, Google, go to YouTube, put in Rotterdam by The Beautiful South. You'll be singing along to it.
Forgotten about that.
I'm sure by the end of the week. You forgot that one. That will be used on the Instagram account at some stage for sure. That will be there. Sean, have a good day, my friend. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Head across a bit later on today. There will be a full array of prices. There'll be sort of 30 different markets available on all these matches for tomorrow in the second round. And we will be in the house and we will be cheering Richard Gasquet. Allez le bleu. Take care.